I found 17 different credit cards with my name on them hidden in a storage unit I didn't even know my husband owned. My hands were shaking as I flipped through folder after folder of loan applications, bank statements, and medical bills all in my name, all signed in what looked like my handwriting, but none of them were mine. The storage unit was registered under Mark's name, and I'd only found it by accident when his mail got mixed up with ours and I saw the monthly payment notice. Mark and I had been married for 8 years. We met in college, built what I thought was a beautiful life together. He was charming, responsible, the kind of guy who remembered anniversaries and brought me coffee every morning. Everyone said I was lucky to have found such a devoted husband. He handled most of our finances because he was better with numbers, and I trusted him completely. Why wouldn't I? He was my husband. But standing in that 10 by 10 concrete box surrounded by evidence of my stolen identity, everything I thought I knew about my marriage crumbled. The credit cards weren't even the worst part. There were medical bills for procedures I'd never had, student loans for schools I'd never attended, and a mortgage application for a house in Florida that I'd never seen. Mark had been living an entire financial life as me, racking up debt and making purchases while keeping me in the dark about everything. I found receipts for expensive watches, gambling debts from online casinos, and payments to women whose names I didn't recognize. There were bank statements showing cash advances of thousands of dollars, all charged to credit cards opened in my name with my social security number. My credit score had to be destroyed. My financial future was in ruins, and I had no idea. I sat down right there on the concrete floor and cried. Not just tears, I mean ugly, body-shaking sobs. The man I'd shared a bed with for 8 years had been systematically stealing my identity to fund his secret life. Every morning when he brought me coffee with that loving smile, he was looking at a woman whose life he was actively destroying. How long had this been going on? How had I been so blind? Every time I'd suggested we check our credit reports together, he'd find some excuse to put it off. When I wanted to apply for a mortgage refinance last year, he convinced me the timing wasn't right. Now I knew why. The betrayal felt like a physical wound. This wasn't just about money, he'd stolen my identity, my security, my future. He'd forged my signature hundreds of times. He'd used my personal information to lie to banks, creditors, and medical facilities. In some ways, it felt like he'd erased who I was and replaced me with a version of myself that existed only to serve his needs. I drove home in a daze, the folders of evidence sitting in my passenger seat like a bomb waiting to explode our marriage. Part of me wanted to confront him immediately, to scream and throw the papers in his face. But something told me to be smart about this. If Mark was capable of this level of deception, I needed to be prepared for whatever came next. That night at dinner, I watched him carefully. He asked about my day, complained about work, kissed my forehead when he cleared my plate. He was the same attentive husband he'd always been, and it made my skin crawl. How could someone be so tender while actively destroying the person they claimed to love? Instead of confronting him, I decided to gather more evidence first. I secretly made copies of everything in the storage unit. Then I hired a private investigator to dig deeper into Mark's activities. What she found was even worse than I'd imagined. The women's names on those receipts? He'd been having affairs with 3 different women over the past 2 years, funding his relationships with money stolen from credit cards opened in my name. The Florida house? He'd been planning to leave me and move there with his latest girlfriend, using a mortgage I would be legally responsible for. But here's where Mark made his biggest mistake: he underestimated me. I consulted with a divorce attorney who specialized in financial fraud cases. Together, we built an airtight case documenting every instance of identity theft. I gathered statements from all the financial institutions, filed police reports for identity theft, and froze my credit to prevent any additional damage. Then I set up my own storage unit and moved copies of all our legitimate financial documents there, along with family heirlooms and anything else I valued. If Mark could have secret storage units, so could I. The attorney helped me file for divorce and press criminal charges for identity theft simultaneously. In our state, identity theft between spouses is still a felony, and the evidence was overwhelming. I waited until Mark left for work on a Tuesday morning, then had him served with divorce papers and a restraining order at his office. By the time he got home, I was gone, and there was a police detective waiting to arrest him for identity theft. The look on his face when he called me from jail was priceless. "How could you do this to me?" he kept asking, as if I was the one who had betrayed our marriage. The legal process took 8 months, but it was worth every day. Mark was convicted of identity theft and sentenced to 3 years in prison. The court ordered him to pay restitution for all the fraudulent charges, which totaled over $200,000. Since he didn't have the money, his assets were seized and liquidated. But the best part? His girlfriend in Florida found out about the other women and his financial crimes through the news coverage. She dumped him before his trial even started. I won't lie, rebuilding my credit and my life was hard work. But knowing that Mark was facing the consequences of his actions kept me motivated. The private investigator helped me contact all the creditors and provide proof of the fraud. Most of the debt was removed from my credit report, though it took nearly 2 years to clean up completely. Today, my credit score is higher than it's ever been. I own my own home, and I have complete control over my financial life. I check my credit report every month, and I'll never again let someone else handle my finances without full transparency. Mark served his full sentence. I heard through mutual friends that he's working at a call center now and living with his mother. He's also banned from opening any new credit accounts without court supervision for the next 10 years. The whole experience taught me that love isn't just about trust, it's about verification too. Someone who truly loves you will welcome transparency in your relationship, especially around money. If your partner is secretive about finances, asks you to sign documents without reading them, or discourages you from checking your own credit, those are massive red flags. Your identity is one of your most valuable possessions. Don't let anyone, not even someone you love, take control of it without your full knowledge and consent. Have you experienced something like this? Tell me in the comments.